Before we open regular meeting, we're having a public hearing on a bylaw, and I have a statement I'm told I have to read, so. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to section 890 of the Local Government Act in order to consider the following bylaws. Bylaw number 665, 2018, a bylaw to amend the District of Temple Ridge zoning bylaw number 8585, 2012. Bylaw number 666, 2018, a bylaw to amend the District of Temple Ridge business license bylaw number 44, 2017. The proposed zoning amendment bylaw would permit a change to the industrial M1 zone to allow the operation of a cannabis store or cannabis facility. The proposed business license amendment, the proposed business license amendment bylaw would allow for the addition of business license for the operation of a cannabis store or cannabis facility with a motion of support and approval of council prior to the establishment. Proposed bylaws have received first and second readings, but have not passed third reading or been adopted by council. Notice of this public hearing have been posted in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. Also, a copy of the proposed bylaws has been available for inspection at Town Hall as required by the Local Government Act. Once called by the chair, please begin your presentation to council by clearly stating your name and address. Please make your presentation as brief as possible. After all have had an opportunity to be heard, anyone wishing further input may once again be heard. Everyone will be given reasonable opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making his or her views heard. Please refrain from any conduct that would intimidate others or discourage them from speaking. The floor will then be open to anyone in attendance that wishes to present his or her views on the proposed bylaw. I stress to all of you that this is a public hearing. It is an opportunity for anyone who has a view on the proposed bylaws to make that view known. Council members who are here with an open mind and are here to listen to your input. It is not a question and answer period. It is not an opportunity to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw with either council members, staff, or those in attendance who may be opposed to your particular view. Anyone who believes they may be affected by the proposed changes in the proposed bylaw will be heard and or may make a written submission. No one will be discouraged or prevented from making his or her views heard. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to the matters contained in the proposed bylaws. When speaking, please commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. Council members may ask questions of you following your presentation, but our function today is to listen to the views of the public rather than debate the merits of the proposed bylaws. After this public hearing is concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. So, if there's anybody that wants to talk to this bylaw, or these bylaws, you're welcome to the delegation table, or you can speak right from your seat. If you're loud enough, that we can hear you. Seeing nobody's, do I have the time that I have to wait, or doesn't seem like anybody wants to speak to it? Okay. The closing statement. Before closing this hearing, I'm going to call 3 times for further speakers on any of the matters contained in the proposed bylaws. For the first time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representations? second time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? For the third time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? There being no further speakers, I declare the public hearing closed. I'll open regular meeting of council for Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018. And approval of the agenda. Councillor Casey.
So moved, Your Worship.
Councillor, seconded by Councillor Mackay. All in favor? And then comes the public hearing, so I did it a little bit out of order. Anyway, adoption of the minutes for June 18th, 2018, regular council meeting. Okay.
The council adopt the minutes of the Monday, June the 18th, 2018 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Second for that, Councillor Scott. All in favor? Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. We'll move on to petitions and delegations, 5.1, Easterbury Regional District. Welcome to the delegation table. Welcome. Nice to see
Council, just so you're aware, you have this presentation on there. It's
nice to see a real director sitting at our delegation table. We haven't seen one for a while.
I don't think I've ever been invited, but
You're welcome anytime.
I might make a habit of it, especially in the summertime if I can get some boating in first.
Floor is yours. Oh, come on in, Leonard. You can pull the chair off beside any table there.
That's okay, I'm good here.
Thank you for the opportunity to come to Tumbler Ridge to present to council. My name is Dan Rose. I'm the director of Electoral Area E, which borders, I think, Tumbler Ridge District to the north and to the west. And I think Leonard Hebert in the back there is on the east and the south, so we surround. With me is Claire Negrin, our acting general manager of development services, and Crystal Brown in the gallery is our electoral area manager. Today, Claire will tell you what planning is about and how planning decisions are guided, and I will speak to municipal participation in regional district planning, what services that includes, what the funding structure has looked like in recent years, and then look at some options that you might consider for the future.
Excellent. So first of all, I'm going to tell you what do we mean when we say planning. Planning is systematic decision making that leads to informed action, which relates to use and development on the land. So land use planning. Community planning, also land use planning, is an evolving process and is unique to every community and envisions and shapes where people live, work, and recreate. The term community encompasses a variety of places, from established nodes such as Charlie Lake, Presbyteau, Moberly Lake, or Rolla, to more general rural areas such as Goodloe, Gundy, and Lone Prairie. The Peace River is fortunate to have a high number of varied communities throughout our region, all with different community wants, needs, and pressures unique to their situation. Examples of how planning guides growth, development, and change within these communities is through land use plans, policies, regulations, and guidelines. And we do so by aspiring to balance the good of people, communities as a whole, the environment, and the economy. How is planning guided? The same occurs in municipalities. Planning decisions are made within electoral areas, are guided by policy found within our official community plans, or OCPs as I'll call them. Our OCPs are approved by the regional board and are referred to all municipalities and relevant agencies during their creation and adoption. As you may be aware, an official community plan is a statement of the long-term vision for a community and contains objectives and policies that guide planning and land use management decisions. The Local Government Act requires that all land use decisions passed by the board must be consistent with the OCP. Although I should say that any policy in the OCP does not compel the regional district to take action on an item. So, planning within the regional district, the Peace River Regional District is the largest regional district in BC, and it's actually about twice as large as 95% of the other regional districts. It covers an area of over 120,000 square kilometers. You can see on the map here, it's a fair chunk. It's about 13% of the area of the province. The planning area covered within the Peace River Regional District is 24,000 kilometers, and it's shown in gray on the map. All right, and with that, I'll take to Dan.
Okay, thank you. Municipal participation in planning. We're here to talk to you about municipal participation in the regional district's planning function. Planning function includes everything within Part 14 of the Local Government Act. It is also the section that allows municipalities to opt in or out of planning decisions within regional districts. The legislation is written to encourage agreements between a municipality and a regional district regarding the level of participation in the electoral planning area. The purpose of the legislation is to promote the creation of joint planning areas on boundaries adjacent to municipalities, and also for the creation of what we call comprehensive development plans. Municipal participation is based on the view that planning benefits all areas, not just the electoral areas for which plans are developed. Good planning benefits the region as a whole. This is clear in the urban fringe areas, but is also true for all electoral areas. Decisions about planning are often seen as a general responsibility of the entire board, rather than an operation or management decision of the participants. I'm not here to say that municipal participation in planning is a bad thing. However, I believe our current regional structure is not functioning well. Rural residents are underrepresented at the regional board, and municipalities are paying to make decisions in areas where their interests are unaffected. What I am proposing is that you consider what area of our regional district affects your municipality regarding land use. I would like to see our jurisdictions work together to come to an agreement regarding this area of influence. For your consideration, we have put together some examples of different participation structures. Full participation is what you currently have. That means that the Tumbler Ridge representative at the regional board votes on land use decisions over the regional district's entire 24,000 kilometer planning area. Under a partial participation model, the district could decide what area they feel is the most important for them to have decision-making influence over. This could look like however you'd like. The amount you would pay into the planning function would represent the assessment share for that area. And with no participation, you spend no additional dollars, but would not be able to vote on land use decisions in the regional district. Slide 10 is a list of what decisions I mean when I talk about land use planning. What we see most often in the regional district are amendments to our official community plans and zoning bylaws, as well as temporary use permits and development variance permits. Slide 11 gives you a history of a recent history regarding municipal participation in regional district planning. And as you can see, Tumbler Ridge fully opted in 2015. Prior to that, was fully opted out. During these presentations to municipalities within the PRD, we are presenting different participation options for consideration. Some of these examples include full participation based on OCP areas, or by fire protection areas, or full opt-out. However, Tumbler Ridge is quite different. Your area is quite large and very removed from all of our planning areas, so partial participation options have not really been provided by us. As a reminder, the amount of participation you decide will determine how much you pay to the regional district each year, and this decision could help reduce the tax burden on your residents. Option 1 is the current participation level of 100%. This covers our entire planning area, and in 2018, the cost of Tumbler Ridge was $15,941. The second example we've provided is for 0% participation, and this would be a cost savings of almost $16,000 to the district of Tumbler Ridge. Of course, the district could decide on a partial participation model, such as the entire south piece, which would cost $6,376 based on 2017 assessments. If the district would like to look at a partial participation model, we would ask that you set up a meeting with the PRD to discuss what that option might look like. I'd like to thank you for hearing me out today. Moving forward, we've outlined the next steps in the process as they relate to you. And the first step for you is to discuss this topic and decide if and how you'd like to participate in planning decisions. If you decide not to change your current level of participation, then no further action is required. However, should you like to consider a partial participation model, then that decision would have to be made by August 31st, 2018 in order to take effect for the 2019 budget. And if this is the case, we would hope that you would meet with the PRD to determine what the partial participation model would look like and the cost. Any questions?
Well, thank you for your presentation. Yes, my only question is, you're more in favor of us not being a full member? Is that what I'm getting from this?
Yes, that's, and I guess to put it in perspective, it would be like all of us at the regional district voting on your district, sitting in this room and voting on your land use decisions. The way the present system is now, you're voting on land use decisions that you're not accountable for. And we do hear from our residents in electoral areas about it's a level of frustration over that fact. We have people voting that are not answerable to those folks at election time. So that's why we feel that Section 14 Local Government Act was built to foster joint planning areas where areas of mutual concern could be developed, not to be used as a widespread way to vote on decisions that could be 150 miles away from you. And that's where the difference is I think that it was never meant to be used this way, Section 14, and I don't think that if it was really, I think that if they ever get down to reviewing this, it'll probably change somewhat. It's not used this way in very many parts of the regional district either, mainly just here, or very many parts of the province. Partly because of the way this is funded. You should know that total funding costs of planning for the regional district are about $680,000 a year, of which the electoral areas pay 2/3, yet we only have 1/3 of the votes. So that's another inconsistency with the policy. Total municipal participation dollars in planning are right around $225,000 a year. So
I got a few more things I'd say, but I'm gonna wait to the end.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I got a question about the, I can understand your point in electoral areas B and C, but in electoral areas E and D, they're right on the border of the district of Tumbler Ridge. And that's where we do our recreation and everybody goes into this. With a partial buy-in, that's where we could do district E and D, and that would be something that would make more sense to you on the PRPD?
It would.
Okay.
Yeah, we would encourage that. I think it would be a much better way to do our planning than to do it region-wide. We'd love to have comprehensive development plan or joint planning areas along our borders. I think that would be a good way that we work together on these items anyways, on tourism and caribou and different things. I think this would, we'd like you to consider that.
Anybody else? You know, when I sit at the regional table, I like to think, and I'm thinking like, what's good for the region? I know I'm the mayor of Tumbler Ridge, so that's my top priority, but when I'm sitting there, I like, take, for instance, the Gotta Go thing that Karen has going on the Alaska Highway. Like, I think that's something that is of value to people in Tumbler Ridge, even though we're at the other end of the regional district, because there's you know, sometimes you gotta go. But, you know, I also look at it from our point of view, and then we've got the geopark and the museum, that, and we think that is a value to the whole region. And I know this year we changed, you guys changed the economic development thing, and I wasn't sure I was really happy about that. And I was actually the one that got us to be a full member when I first sat at the table. I mean, I don't know if council remembers that, but it, because I was tired of sitting at the table and just keeping the seat warm. You know, I really think that I can see you're thinking here, but I really think that people have to open their minds up a little wider when they're sitting in those chairs. Sometimes don't see that. Sure you don't. Sometimes do. But, we'll sure discuss this and see where it takes us. But I was never a fan of being part of only about 10% of what went on in that sport. It kind of made me think, why am I sitting here? That's just a personal point of view. But I was a little rough on you saying your first time here, because you have been here to talk about the caribou and the back country closures. And Leonard's been speaking on our Highway 52 East, and I know we're getting more and more intermingled, and that's good. Thank you for the presentation, and we will consider it.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come here, and no doubt it's such a friendly room. We'll probably be back if we survive if we survive the next election.
Thanks a lot. And they do make raincoats still. You know.
We don't have rain like this in our area.
I think the hay's getting cheaper.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay. Takes us to 5.2, the public library. Welcome, all that, Chris.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. Thank you for this opportunity. I just have something that I'd like to share with you, and then I'll leave it with you. As you're aware, the provincial government announced in February that the minimum wage in BC was going up to $12.65 June 1st of this year. The initial library budget was approved by the Library Board prior to the announcement and did not include this increase to minimum wage. Ultimately, the original amount was approved, leaving the new minimum wage out. In order to cover the new minimum wage, the library needs at least an additional $3,000. We would also like you to be aware that in 2015, before the province started increasing minimum wage, the difference between minimum wage and the entry-level clerk was $4.55 per hour. That gap is now only $2.35, meaning that the staff who provide frontline services and keep the library functioning at its high level are not having their service and commitment acknowledged. In order to restore this gap, giving staff who are not earning minimum wage a $2.20 per hour increase, the library would need an additional $18,000 for the last 7 months of 2018. We are doing our best to reduce costs without impacting the services that are demanded and appreciated by residents of Tumbler Ridge and are asking for council's help. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Do you have any questions?
Can you just reread the part where you said something about the additional amount was $18,000, just the 2 sentences before that?
2 sentences before that. We would also like you to be aware that part where the differential is.
Yes.
Okay. We would also like you to be aware that in 2015, before the province started increasing minimum wage, the difference between minimum wage and the entry-level clerk was $4.55 per hour. That gap is now only $2.35, meaning staff who provide frontline services and keep the library functioning at its high level are not having their service and commitment to the library acknowledged.
And then there was a point there about $18,000.
Yeah, in order to restore this gap, I would give them $2.20 an hour to give them back the $4.55 differential. The library would need $18,000 to cover the rest of this year, starting June 1st when minimum wage went up.
Anybody else?
And the only alternative to this is cutting service?
I'm going to do my best not to do that, cutting in other ways, but as I've said before, we run our budget very close to what our actual expenses are. So I'm fingers crossed that more staff take vacations.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Paula, for your comments. I think we touched a little bit on this subject last presentation as you made to council. I believe I asked a question relative to comparable libraries in the area and so forth. And to see where what you are requesting, where does that fit into the overall picture relative to comparable organizations, libraries, and so forth. Can you?
I can't speak
Comment
to
on
it
that?
because the minimum wage is too new, the increase is too new. So we're all in the same position right now. We're dealing with our funders in an effort to cover an increase that wasn't anticipated. And so we're all going to our funding bodies and asking for assistance.
And what communities would you assess as being comparable to your
We've
operation?
compared in the past with other libraries in the Northeast, and certainly that would be legitimate. I don't think at this point we're looking for a comparison right now where we're saying these are the costs. We didn't ask for a minimum wage increase that we weren't aware of, and that's what we're asking for now. And in discussion with the mayor, I'm coming back with this.
So you've got no comments in terms of,
I don't want
Prior
to
to
go
this-
back in and rehash everything that we've done before. This is a separate issue in that the provincial government imposed a minimum wage increase that wasn't part of the planning process when our board initially approved their budget for us.
thank you, Worship.
I think with that, it's, the libraries were pretty close when we checked last time. So they all got this increase, so I imagine they're all, as you said, doing the same thing.
We're not permitted to raise prices for anything, so we have to come to our funding bodies.
Anything else?
Who's the next person in line after a clerk?
After a clerk, that would be Chris, and we have
So what is
someone on
Chris's
mat leave right
job?
now. Pardon?
What is Chris's position?
Chris is the programmer.
How many programmers do you have?
One programmer.
How many?
But everybody participates in programming. Like I have 2 other people doing programs right now.
How many clerks do you have?
I have 2 clerks right now, but they're on call, so that fluctuates. We just lost one, actually.
How many people do you have with minimum wage right now?
On minimum wage right now, 3.
Part-time.
They're children. And I mean that, like, they're only legal to work.
Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'll say again, I like what you guys do over there, and I hope we don't have to cut it.
Thank you.
We don't make any decisions here.
Thank you.
Okay. 5.3, Chantal Cardinal Restaurant, I think I got that right.
Yeah, you did. Hello. How are you?
Good.
Not nervous at all. Okay, well, I'm Chantal. I am here on behalf of myself and Soch Rinton. Some of you might know her as Soch Smith. We're hosting our 2nd annual Memorial Golf Tournament in Tumbler Ridge on Saturday, July 7th. We are very new to this. We decided to turn it into a fundraiser in the hopes of helping local families that need financial assistance. So I'm here today to ask the district if they would kindly care to donate to the green fees for our golf tournament, or anything that they can do to help really would be appreciated. Questions?
Any questions?
Just to Mr. Wall, it's an 18-hole golf tournament, I believe.
I'm not aware. Do you know what the
Financial cost would be of that?
I'm not aware. Troy, do you know?
Well, last I was told about having more teams enter because we were short golf carts, but we actually, I don't think Soch talked to you and you had one more team enter after. So I'm not sure what that brought our total up to,
I guess the tournament package would be $70 per person.
but it's roughly
About 5,600.
113.
5,600?
80 golfers. For 18 holes and just for the green fees? Or
That's
with
for
carts and?
That's for the carts. Which is only asking for green fees.
So it would be. So take away your cards. Approximately $35, let's say, for the 18.
So 2,500.
Councilor McKay, you had something?
Yeah, just wondering if if this is limited to these 3 separate diseases. Is anyone requiring assistance? Is it limited to the lung disease, nephrotic syndrome, and ALS?
Well, this year we chose 3 families in town, so each family is dealing with these medical issues. So our goal was to just raise as much money as possible, and then we will split it between the 3 families.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
And her and I are very new to this, so going forward, we'd like to keep it a fundraiser. So next year, we'll have to try to come up with a way of, like a guideline, I guess, for picking families. But this year, we just knew of 3 families that were in need of medical finances.
Okay, and the reason I asked, I know every once in a while that we've run across situations where somebody kind of falls through the cracks and doesn't have the assistance they need, or the availability of rides, whatever, that type of thing. And I know that we have services in town that sometimes they just don't meet all the needs. And so this is a fund that could be used for any family that finds themselves in a position where they need to go out of town for something. Is that something that's?
Well, hopefully, like I said, her and I are gonna have to try to come up with a criteria, I guess, of who can qualify for the fundraiser or. Sorry,
Okay.
struggling with my words.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Worship. So just clarity on that, you're a group that's organizing it, the 2 of you that are organizing, I've chosen 3 local families
Yes.
that have had numerous medical expenses, whether it be travel or so on,
Yes.
prescription or whatever.
Yes.
Just to clarify with Mr. Councilman Cod.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
And the question I had when I looked at your application here was the 3 families and how you decided which 3 families were going to get assistance. And you've kind of answered that. It was you haven't really had a criteria of how you're going to do it. This year you just picked 3 families that you knew of.
Yeah. I actually was kind of on the back burner on that part of it. My partner that doesn't live here kind of went ahead and she knew of these families that were in need of assistance. So she just went ahead and I think you were on a bit of a time crunch. So, but like I said, going forward, we'll have to come up with a criteria and I don't really know who we will have to talk to, I guess, to see who is in need of assistance in Tumblr. All I know is we would like to keep it local and do what we can to help.
Yeah.
So see, they're trying to raise $3,000 out of it. I mean, if we were just to get the green fees in, somewhere in that rough, that's $3,500. I mean, they pretty much make all the money they were looking to make just off the green fees. I mean, it is totally short notice for us to try to push something like this through. Normally, we don't ever do that, right? Like it's once heard and deferred, right? But as far as I know, I think the tournament is this weekend. I think.
It is, and I'm really very sorry. We're both very sorry about the short notice. I didn't, like I said, we were new to this. I didn't even know that I had to come to the delegation for this. So
Maybe my thought might be, what if we were able to help get them halfway there?
I think I don't want to do it, change the way we do things here. I don't want to do it, but we get to know some motion.
Yeah, well, we could still donate to it at a later time.
Yeah,
Right? Like we could do it after the tournament's over. And,
it'd be nice to get it done today though.
okay.
So they know what to do.
Okay.
I just got one question. Did you guys ever look at like a suicide hotline or something like that in regards to donating the funds?
we did, yes. Because it's a memorial, we kind of wanted to keep in touch with the family and stay kind of in their comfort zone. And they weren't comfortable with donating to that because the person who it's in memory of committed suicide. So we did look into that, and they decided they didn't want to. So they had suggested maybe we try to do something local, which is a pretty great idea, I think.
Yeah, Councilor Guy.
Just a little word on, just comment on the guidelines I've been using from timeliness, and you know, and they're there for a reason, but I don't think they catch everything. I think this might be an occasion where, you know, I mean, it is a 7th, and we do have, I guess, like, are we bound that we cannot do something, or is it something that we could take care of, just considering the circumstances?
I mean, well,
Council can, it's not the only thing you would have to waive is you need unanimous consent of council to bring a motion that hasn't been placed on the agenda.
now or to do it?
I just got one question, and I read the same thing as Councilor Howe in regards to raising $3,000. Is that looking at $3,000 per family?
It was just for all 3 families, and that's a goal. I mean, obviously you wanna go above and beyond. We just wanted to kind of set something realistic for our first time, because we didn't know what to expect. But as of this moment, it was just for the 3 families to be split.
So just to
I'll,
clarify,
the motion if somebody wants to.
just wanted to clarify.
Do you unanimously want to change this today? I say, we're all in favor? Okay, I'll accept a motion for somebody to. Anyway, Councilor McCann.
I'd like to put a motion that we waive the green fees for the tournament taking place on July 7th, 2018 for the specified event that's we're dealing with.
Second. Easy. Any more discussion on it? Scott?
I was curious as to what Mr. Wall was going to add.
I was just gonna say, sorry for not speaking loudly, it was 2,500, not 3,500, that we think the green fees will be approximate.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. You did real well.
Thank you. I'll try to be more prepared next time.
Okay.
Learning lessons.
Okay, Councilor.
And maybe if you get an opportunity to come back and just give us an update of how much you raised, that would be greatly appreciated.
Oh, for sure, it'll be posted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it takes us to correspondence, Strata, PGS 335, tree planting request.
Yeah, for discussion.
Okay, discussion, seconder?
So my question is to Mr. Wall. Did we cut down the trees down on that area? Was that for them because they requested us to cut them down? Because that's the only way to do it. And then they cut the grass in an area that belongs to the district of Tumbler Ridge. Okay. To me, this is a perfect opportunity for a community forest. Like this is where the community forest should be coming in and have an opportunity to go in and plant some trees. I do worry a little bit about with a strata and how all that works, but I think that it would be nice to see trees in that area as well. But would this not be a good opportunity for the strata to approach community forest and say, hey, can you put some trees in your forest rather than council? Not that I don't agree with it. I think that place needs trees, and I was really upset when they cut the trees down that were there. I thought they've been there since I was forever. But I don't know. To me, it's more of a community forest type request.
Councilor McCann.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing, and whether are we looking for mature trees or is it just like seedlings, like to start over? I mean, I don't know what the ask is here.
It wasn't in the letter that I saw anyway.
It's in the letter, the younger the tree, the higher probability it's going to last. We've seen tree transplants in Tumbler Ridge. The success rate's not high, even when you start small. So I would suggest this would be a long-term project, but I agree. I would caution council in getting into the beautification of a private business at their request. The community forest is probably a better area. Maybe if council wanted to provide direction, and I'll suggest that they get in touch with the community forest.
And again, that's kind of my concern, is that if we start down that slippery slope, that everybody starts to come in and ask for, well, I need this and that. They've cut down the pine beetle in my backyard, and next thing you know, we're planting trees for everybody in town. Although I don't disagree that it needs it in that area, but maybe a request to community forest is hands off in a sense on that, right? So, it's a good idea.
Councilor.
Yeah, just keep in mind, it is district property, so I think we can do whatever we want on there. If we want to put park benches or trees or whatever we want to do there, I think we have the opportunity to do that. But like in saying that, I think this is something, we got planters in town right now. So maybe it's something we could get done right away if we get that direction.
So you're looking for a motion for, or just
to suggest that the strata contacts the community forest.
Okay, I think that's a really good idea. Okay.
I'm
Good
looking
enough?
for, no, I'm looking for a motion. Your Worship.
I'll put that motion on the floor.
Second, okay. Any more discussion on it? All in favor? Corporation of the Township of, never say that.
Don't worry, I'm glad it's not me saying it.
It's on the Health Tax Act and on local government. Machine. I would like this to come for discussion too. You got that seconder? Councilor Scott. Go ahead.
No, I just heard you wanted to discuss
Okay.
it.
This, should I get Mr. Wall to explain how this is gonna affect us over the sugars?
So,
It's pretty huge.
so council may recall that MLA Bernier was in explaining about the switch that the new government has made. So the new government is planning on eliminating medical service premiums in order to make up the revenue they're employing, or they're instituting an employer health tax. So it's going to shift the burden of paying these premiums from the user to the employer. Now, what that means is what would have previously been paid by the employees is now going to be paid by the employer. For the District of Tumbler Ridge, for example, our MSP premium payments were about $44,000 this year. Next year, they're going to have both taxes in at the same time, so MSP premiums are going to be there, for which we pay partially, and then the employer health tax is going to be there as well. So we're going to be paying about $145,000 next year, and then in 2020, when it's just the EHT, the employer health tax, we're going to be paying about 90. So our costs will go from 44 this year to about 130 next year to 90 and settling out at 90.
I just think that this letter that they sent, that you don't agree with it, I think we should send a letter the same way. They're not asking, I don't think, for a letter of support. I think it's a good idea. We put our views in on it. Okay, go ahead.
Totally agree. So you say it settles out at 90, does not base off your salary cap as well, so if you add more staff to your line, so it really doesn't, we might bump at 90 then, but you bring on more staff, that 90 goes up. It's based on what your wage costs are.
It's a percentage of wage costs, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, if we say 90, it caps there, but it really does depend on what your wage costs are. So if all of a sudden, more comes to town, that I just wanted to refer that.
Are we just funding employees, or are we funding employees and their families?
Employees and families.
That's a benefit of the District of Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah. The collective agreement.
Part of the collective
So
agreement is that we pay the MSP premiums for an employee and their spouse and their family.
All of our employee benefits package covers medical costs for families as well, yes. With the switch from MSP premiums to the employee health tax, that won't make a difference. This is a tax that's going to be placed on employers. So council, you can go down the path you want. I just, I want to raise this thought with you just to think about, is that the reason this has been brought in is to displace the burden of health costs from the individuals who may not be able to afford it to what this government sees as organizations that can. So just something to think about, that is the method, and you may want to think about how you craft your opposition to this, if that's the path you want to go down.
But I think that the worst part of it is that they're double dipping next year. They're needing one tax, we're paying the one tax, plus we're paying the increased tax, so we're paying, pretty well paying the tax on tax. So, I think we should send a letter to say that we're in disagreement with that, for sure. Now, the other part, that pay the full bid for the healthcare, that's, could be discussed, I'm not sure I'm against that, but I am against them in this twice next year.
So you want to put a motion on the floor to send a letter to the Minister of Finance as well? Or?
Yeah, the same type of thing they did, and I think the biggest part of that would be complaining about, or expressing our concerns about the issue next year that we're going to be getting hit twice. I think they go with it for 1 year, more year the way it is, and then go to the 90 or 90,000 or whatever.
I haven't seen the resolutions that are going to be put forward at UBCM, but I imagine this is going to be one of them.
Is it, I think this letter is going to UBCM, I think, and that's a good place to send it. So,
So would we be putting a letter of support or just another letter?
letter of concern about
Okay.
the way the government's now handling it.
On the implementation and that transition period?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
You make that motion.
We put a motion on the table to have staff draft a letter of concern to send to the Minister of Finance regarding the employer health tax impact on the local government and the implementation of the federal tax.
Minister of Finance and UBCM.
Certainly.
Seconder? Okay. Any more discussion on it? All in favor? Opposed? Pass. Our central local government staff succession. Information or discussion?
I'd move for information, Your Worship.
All in favor? Retail cannabis open request. Information and discussion. Councilor Hopper.
For information.
Councilor Fairclough. All in favor? They were, back up for a minute, they were asking for a letter of support. Can we do something about that?
The reason I second that and vote in favor is because we haven't finished our level. We're still in the public hearing phase. Is that not too early to authorize it for business license?
So council could, what they're asking for is a motion of support to allow them to go to the government in order to get a retail license. Now, I would say that if council does not intend on following through with approving the location where they've asked, you should not give that motion because they're gonna start making investments based on council giving them a positive green light. So if council's not ready to make a decision to approve it in that location, I would suggest not giving them that motion of support. If council is ready to approve it in that location, then you're more than welcome to.
Is it time sensitive that they get their requests in, or?
They have indicated it is. They are from, and I had a brief email, so it looks like they're trying to get all of their permits lined up to start as quickly as possible once this becomes legal. So is there a time issue from their point of view? I'm sure there is. They'd rather have it sooner than later. From council's point of view, there's been no guidelines set out either by the courts or the provincial government at the speed you need to make this decision. The courts have decided in other cases that you can't arbitrarily delay a decision forever and cause damage to either a person or business because of that. But I would say the fact that you're in the middle of debating these bylaws, one of which will have jurisdiction over this type of premises, that would be a legitimate reason not to make a decision on that right now.
Councilor
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wall. I mean, that was my concern, is whether the zoning was going to prevent us from doing this, which I don't think it does, according to our bylaw we're putting forward. Am I correct on that?
The business license bylaw, as presented, not ratified, so as presented, not ratified, just to be clear, would not prevent this store from opening where it's been proposed. But having said that, they would still need a motion of council support to open. So within the bylaw, they would have to get that motion of support. Council could choose to give it to them or not give it to them. So, and sorry, it's tough to answer because you asked me, does it prevent them from opening? Yes, unless you give them the motion of support. No, if you give them the motion of support, if that makes sense.
So maybe what we should be doing is bring this to a P&P and have a good discussion on it. Especially after whatever happens then final reading here. Okay.
Yeah, and just my own question of that, and going through my mind is, if we gave a pending approval of the upcoming bylaw we have in place, I'm not saying we do that, but would that suffice? Our decision of support would be the approval of the bylaw.
That would be the provincial government that would have to decide whether it was sufficient or not. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
None of these have been approved before, so there's not even any precedents to look at.
I was gonna say, the province hasn't really sent anything out yet, for regulations, has it? And the deadline keeps moving, like now we're looking at October, I think, isn't it?
So October 15th, recreational cannabis will be legal. The province has committed to allowing recreational cannabis sales after that date. The province has put out literature indicating what stores are going to need to do, so there's going to be rules, I believe, unless you're in a rural setting, which just Tumble Ridge is not rural in what they're talking about here. Unless you're in a rural setting, you're not going to be able to sell other items within, you're not going to be able to sell alcohol. So those rules have been established, and they have told businesses, in order to apply, and that application period is going to start later this week or next week, you need to have a motion of support from your council. So you're not the only council that's looking, that have had these requests come through. I'm not aware of other communities that have passed those motions of support, but I am aware of other communities that have told their business communities, we're not going to get involved in where these come into this zone, and you're gonna have your approval, so.
I mean, I see no reason why we can't give them the support of the council. I mean, it's gonna be legalized in a matter of time. They are an established business that's been in Tumble Ridge, that's looking for, they're the first ones out the gate. I'd hate to have somebody else come in, some big corporation come in and scoop them out because they got an application in before these guys did. The first out the gate, that's how business works, and as far as I'm concerned, we should be supporting them. And we know that somebody's gonna be selling it in town at some point, why not them? With motion on the floor, we give them a letter of support.
Second. Any more discussion on it? Mr. Wall?
Perfectly able to do that. Again, I want to make clear, council, where you will run into issues, if at all, is if you pass this, they start making major investments decisions because of it, and you change your mind later down the road. So as long as you're comfortable, you're more ahead.
With that being said, with the information that I have at this point, I'm comfortable. If something changes down the road, if legislation changes, or there's something that changes within our community, that there's a daycare put next to them or whatever, maybe I'll change my mind. But at this point in time, I'm comfortable with the information that I've been given.
Councillor Scott?
I'd like to see it put on a P&P for a good discussion.
Yeah, again, I have no issues with them, with where the location is or that, but it has not, we're not rushing this along without having the bylaws in place.
Place
Just go on
tonight,
and
won't
respect. Right?
There is no, so procedurally, there is no issue with giving this tonight, again, as long as council's comfortable with it being set up there. There's no procedural reason why it can't happen.
So it's final reading, not on tonight, sorry.
I got to take Councillor.
And that's when we get back to this pending the approval of the bylaw. And is that not our out, I mean, if that's not in there, and we've gone ahead and give approval to go ahead with a business that eventually doesn't work, without that in there, Does that not make us liable?
So I would, in the motion and in the letter, say we approve this, if council goes down that, we approve this location pending the adoption of the Tumbler Ridge business license bylaw. And in some language that says in conjunction with all the other provincial and federal regulations. Which if council couldn't supersede that anyway, if you tell someone, yeah, go ahead and do something and they break a federal crime while doing it, they're still responsible to deal with the federal government.
My view, if we're gonna have an outlet, I'd like to see it downtown, not front of somebody's house. And it's about as far as we, being downtown and about as far as you can get from the rec center, so I have no problem with it. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Passed. Okay, 6.5, Grizzly Valley Sally Tub, motion of support. Recommendation there? Councilor
The council supports Grizzly Valley Sun Club's grant application for the funding of up to $30,000 to Northern Development Initiative Trust.
Seconder, Councilor Bertrand. Discussion on? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. Here, Ridge Riders Snowmobile Association. We have for information and discussion. Thank you for discussion. Discussion, Secretary. Sure. Go ahead.
So I just see their want is in regards to using the parking lot, I believe what they're saying, the West End parking lot. Is there gonna be any issue back there in regards to the businesses that are using it? Is there any issue?
I would imagine with
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I discussed this with Mr. Waller earlier, and maybe we can suggest a parking lot down below the rec center, because this parking lot with all the construction in it can get very busy, so I think if one down below the rec center can be used, I think that's a place to have it.
Yeah, and that's, and I apologize for going into yourself. I mean, there's also a second parking lot that's been used before for show and shines. So either or to me.
Anything else? So, make a motion to offer the rec center parking lot.
I'll make that motion.
Seconder, Councilor Scott. Any more discussion on it? All in favor? Opposed? Sure, Breakfast News, Title 6, traffic information or discussion. Councilor McCack.
Information?
Secretary, Councilor McCack. And all in favor? Opposed? Bylaws. 7.1, recreational cannabis consumption bylaw number 667, 2018.
Recommendation that the District of Tumbler Ridge recreational cannabis consumption bylaw number 667, 2018 be adopted.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Municipal ticketing information amendment bylaw number 668, 2018. Councilor Scott.
District of Tumbler Ridge Municipal Ticketing Information Amendment Bylaw number 668, 2018 be adopted.
Seconder? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Zoning amendment bylaw 665, 2018, third reading.
The District of Tumbler Ridge zoning amendment bylaw number 665, 2018 be read a third time.
Seconder, Scott, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. District, business license amendment bylaw number 666, 2018 for the third reading.
Recommendation of the District of Tumble Ridge Business Licensing Amendment Bylaw number 666, 2018 be read a third time.
Kaka, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 7.5, fees and charges amendment bylaw number 669, 2018. Recommendation number 1? Councilor Kaka.
That the District of Tumble Ridge fees and charges amendment bylaw number 669, 2018 be read the first time.
Second, Councilor Scott. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation number 2. Councilor Scott.
That the District of Tumble Ridge fees and charges amendment bylaw number 67, 2018 be read a second time.
Should be 669, right?
Oh.
Is that, which is the typo, the 9 or the 7?
7, I believe. Yeah, the 7 is the typo.
Should be all set.
There's 2 667s. Recommendation second.
Yeah, so the 7's the typo, it should be 9. Thank you.
So you said
Yes.
669.
Yes.
Seconder for that? Councilor Kaka. Discussion on it? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation number 3.
The District of Tumble Ridge fees and charges amendment bylaw number 669 be read a third time.
Seconder? Councilor Buckeye? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Takes us to new business. Election and cost sharing agreement, school district number 59. Recommendation there. Councilor Scott?
The council approves the election cost sharing agreement that school district number 59 has presented, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to sign this agreement on behalf of the District of Tumble Ridge.
Seconder? Councilor Kaka? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 2017 Sophie report. Recommendation there? Councilor Kaka?
The council approves the remaining pages of the 2017 Statement of Financial Information, Sophie, as presented.
Seconder? Discussion? The only thing I noticed in there, and it's kind of, I guess, personal, is that the travel costs and all that, everybody knows it's pretty high on my account. So I'd like to have attendance be part of that Sophie report. Kind of dictates that, that I have to travel actually. There wasn't a whole bunch of council that travel with me or for me. I would just like to have attendance as part of the Sophie report. And Mr. Wall, okay, can that happen?
You could have an attendance report, but not, it wouldn't be part of Sophie. So Sophie's got what goes to the province, but you could have a separate report, that wouldn't be an issue.
I just, it just kind of, my job to do that travel. I just thought it was kind of bad. There hadn't been a whole bunch of people in this council that they wanted to travel. Councilor Scott.
So are you asking for us to itemize what we do attend type thing?
Yeah.
Okay, a list of the conferences or whatever.
Yeah.
that might be good information for the public.
Yeah, I have no issues with that, and it's not about not wanting to travel, I mean, there's things that I think you have to attend, and I think people have to realize that. And I mean, with the Caribou thing that came up, and there was community forest stuff, and I think people have to realize that. So I was gonna talk to Mr. Wall earlier, so I'm not gonna ramble on about all the items, but those answers or replies will become forthcoming, right?
I'm just waiting on that one, yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, maybe we'll bring it up at a PUP. Yeah.
Sure.
I just have one other question. Do the two like the report from last council meeting usually come with this one attached, or are they two separate?
They should have been one. What happened is we missed putting it in. What happened was we sent it over in Excel, and there was numerous tabs, and only the first couple tabs printed out, so those back tabs didn't, and that's just what happened there.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried. Bridge Fest Parade. Recommendation there? Councilor Trucker?
The council directs administration to organize and host the 2018 Grizz Fest Parade. And the council approves unbudgeted funds to cover costs of hosting the event to a maximum of $2,000.
Seconder? Councilor McKay, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Bridge Fest, request for services. Recommendation?
That's presented.
Seconder? Okay. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recreation Master Plan. This is report given out for information. Motions come up a little later. Unless anybody wants to discuss it.
For information, motion.
Okay, Secretary, Councilor Scott, all in favor? Okay, schedule of meetings. Everybody knows we got the PMP next. All right, next Monday. Anything to be added?
Is it a fairly lengthy one? It is quite a few things.
Yeah, get comfortable for that one. It's gonna be
Okay.
fun.
I do have one other question. Have we met our criteria for the town hall meetings for this year?
Yeah, we have.
We did? Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Carry on. Proposed motion, recreation master plan. And I'm bringing this one back because I think it was, I don't think it was quite right, and it's been changed a little bit. And I think it's some money that somebody's gonna pay us to have a recreation master plan, so I think we should. I'll make the motion that council approves the release of an RFP in the amount of not to exceed $80,000 for the creation of a recreation master plan as per new BCM grant guidelines. Seconder? Discussion?
So all of that money is provided by the BC, or BCM.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. UBCM ministry meetings. Board from the policy and priorities committee. over it, I want to. Everybody else is happy with it, that's what we'll stick with. Any addition?
The letter we're sending to the Minister of Finance regarding that, that fee and implementation, would that be something to possibly meet with them?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I'm sure we can come up with a few other issues.
As long as the
Highway
hardware,
52.
Yeah, just make was the motion seconded yet? Was it put on the floor and seconded? No. So you can change the motion right now, it's not on the floor yet.
Okay, so the motion would be include these and add. Anybody, sorry. Does anybody else have somebody they want to add into the, as a Minister of Finance? You want to make that motion, Scott?
Sure. So that we just make the motion as presented of the list of the UBCM ministers and meeting requests.
with the addition of the Minister of Finance and the new, I forget what that.
HST.
Yes.
Okay. Take this to Councilor's business. Oh, just, we didn't vote on it, did we?
No.
Seconder? Any more discussion on it? All in favor? Oh, carried. Yeah, that takes us to Councilor's business. Anybody have anything on it? Just talk about.
Yeah, so not a whole bunch. I did attend the Lakeview, and I did see the email come up from Mr. Waller. It's pretty, well, when I was there when it first began. It was, not very many people there, but I think Lakeview's got some great ideas that they're gonna be coming out with. Some have already started, which you can cash and check with the picture, like most other banks have, but there's no advertising in our own bank about it. So, I made a phone call to the lady and left her a voicemail. She said there was posters in our bank, there isn't, but, and then they're gonna try to do a membership drive and stuff coming up here in the middle of this month, so I think it'll be a good thing for that local bank here in town. But one other thing, whether it's supposed to be brought up in this meeting or not, I did not fill out my review for Mr. Wall, and that was because I was hoping for a discussion before that was to be done. And I noticed there was no close line or anything, so I'm pretty sure you noticed mine wasn't having it.
Yes,
And I sent an email with no response. Okay, I sent one to everybody. Trying to get review on it. I just want to make sure it's known that I did not fill out one. I mean, to me, it's a public thing that, I didn't do it. And that's the reason I didn't do it.
Ready? Anybody else?
I know under P&P, but one of the things on the agenda is the discussion surrounding the museum. And I think it's kind of imperative that we start looking at the amount of time we have left before we talk to the minister at the UBCM. Should we get that, that if we decide we're going to move ahead on this, that we go there with in unity with the museum. So I think we've got a lot of stuff to settle before we get to that point. And I think it's imperative that not only the P&P, but the follow-up meetings that have to take place if we're going to go that route. I mean, I think that the clock is ticking on this, and I know that myself and I think some of the others that were talking to the Stonehammer group there, that and finding out they had the exact same problems, and to see what's happened there today compared to what it was like in those days, I mean, it's night and day. And I think we've got a lot of work to do before we get to that point, and I think that we've got to make the time to be able to do that.
As you saw from the emails,
Yeah.
I think I was gonna mention it at our EP on this Monday, and come up with if everybody's agreeable, then we'll go ahead and have a meeting with the board. If you guys can think about it, we'll talk about it at the EP.
We're about talking about it here and sort of kind of actually making it for the next night or even the Wednesday night. That way it's pre-planned, everybody knows the schedule, staff's aware. I mean, like Councilman Kai said, a ton of sense. We only got one meeting in August.
Yeah.
It's not even a PMP, it's a regular meeting.
And, I'd like to have just a special meeting on it.
No, and I agree with you. I mean, it doesn't work this month.
So, let's go back to our schedule, our timetable here, our calendar.
Just so council's aware, you have 2 museum topics on the next PNP. You can do what you want now, but just so there are 2 topics on there that's been forwarded.
But that's just discussion amongst us, that's
That's
not really,
yeah.
see, and I am hoping that we come to the conclusion of getting them involved, because we need to, like Councilman McCann was saying, we need a united front going forward in September.
Yeah, and Councillor Kirby is gone for a couple of weeks, I think. She would be very important to have at that meeting. We can pick a day after the last 2 weeks of July, and sure, Councillor Kirby will be back. Mondays, we don't have our council meeting, we can do it on a Monday at 5 o'clock.
I would be okay with the 23rd.
23rd. So we'll send out a invite to them, to the
Yeah.
board.
Just make the motion, your worship.
I'll make that motion.
Make a motion for the 23rd, seconder. Councillor Scott. Any more discussion? Did you get that down there?
The 23rd, your worship,
Yeah, 23rd at 5 o'clock.
and that's with the TRM.
Yeah.
And what is the purpose of that?
It is to try to work out a path to go forward. So that when we do go down to UECM, talk to the ministers, we have a plan that we're working together. Because no point even talking about it unless we're working together on this. I've had some discussions with councillors and this could probably be on that discussion on the 9th too, to talk a little bit more, so that we're all on the same page. And we are, not that I'm saying that you gotta be thinking like me, but we gotta have kind of a game plan of where we're going with this. So, sound good to everybody?
5 o'clock?
5 o'clock on the 23rd for that meeting, and then 9th we'll have a discussion on it. All in favor?
Before council moves on, just the museum board and staff, who should we be requesting attend?
I think it's a museum board.
The board, okay.
I think. Okay, I'll call the question again, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. I got a few things, do with the health center and hospital in Dawson Creek. There's a big announcement going out tomorrow, but I can't tell you what it is. So.
Don't tell anybody.
But one thing we are doing in Dawson Creek is that health society, we're kicking off, and we've got a house there that's segregated into, was actually built as an office for a doctor. It's got, I think there's gonna be about 6 or 7 rooms, and it's gonna be kind of an outpatient thing for people that gotta go for chemo or for anything, and they need a place to stay. And so that looks really good. And most of the financing has been through costs of going for medical. The coalition, we have picked a new director. He has run the airport, and of course he's run for quite a few years. Seems like a really level-headed guy. He hasn't been in this type of politics for a while, and it's probably a good thing. He's got no baggage. He'll be just pushing the things that we ask him to. It'll be coming up, but they're working on the contract right now. Mr. Wells involved with that, and once we get the contract, then we'll bring it kind of formally to council. Also, I guess you've seen in the email that Mackenzie joined the coalition. I think you'll see a lot of that. We had in Halifax, we had kind of a meet and greet thing for that, just for the coalition. We ended up with about 50 mayors there. They're all resource communities, and they all want a voice, you know, and effective voice in it. So we can get this thing going across Canada. Maybe each province has its own division or something. Sounds like everybody's pretty interested in being part of it. At the Canada Day celebrations down that was inside. It was a good thing. And it was really good. They sure had a lot of stuff with the kids down there. They're sure having a lot of fun. And the hamburgers were good. So, yes, let's pass that. Question and answer period. Any questions or answers? Oh, go ahead.
On behalf of the Saddle Club, thank you for your decorations.
Hey, adjournment. Secretary, Councilor Scott, all in favor?
That was pretty good. A lot of stuff.
You know, it's, the thing that with COVID can happen, they're gonna back up all these people parties.
Yes, that's exactly it. You have more than votes. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I don't want to see us off that. Yeah, why would we opt out?
We've been working to get everybody unified and now they want to work down.
I got lost. Yeah, we're thinking about how can we use the space to try and take care of Mike. We're still integrating ways to share.
So then
That's a whole long topic. Yeah, I mean, you feel better.
Hey, Elaine. You know what I forgot to mention today? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. And John, you might know this too. Do we not have a time capsule out here? Is it marked anymore? It's not, is it?
It's been removed, but it's gonna be put back.
Oh, they dug the time capsule out?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
When did they do that? Haven? Oh, the repairs out here?
The repairs, I think it was down. Cause I asked Doug about it.
25 years or something like that.
Yeah, it's 2042, I think, is when it's supposed to be opened.
Because I walked out and I'm like, Jesus, I seen what they were doing out here. There's plaque on the ground for years and years. It says it's a time capsule. And that's gone now.
Yeah.
That's been gone for a while.
Oh, yeah, it's been gone for a while.
But I just,
No, that's, I had to ask them, I didn't want donations.
What?
yeah.
Not very stupid, are you?
No. What else?
They took up, we have pavement from the Alaska Highway, from the original, from the last
I'll touch it later.
And they gave, I guess the last guy gave
They gotta be an umbrella.
Okay.
It's in bits and pieces.
Yep.
And we set it, it was set out there on the sidewalk, and every time I knew about it, because I was at meetings and I heard about it, right? But a lot of people didn't know about it. And then I asked Doug about it the other day, he said, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, we knew about it.
He said that, well, they just thought it was,
Fucking asshole.
asphalt, and they thought that it was just a mistake on the, you know, on the sidewalk there, and they just.
So they dug the,
Dumped it.
time
Time
capsule up.
It's not,
It's been up for a while
it's
then.
going back,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's going back.
Yeah, we gotta get a plaque back on her there.
Yeah.
Good enough. I just, when I saw that today, I thought, oh, I should ask somebody, because if we bury that thing again and nobody knows, you leave, nobody knows where it is. Next thing you know, we'll rip up $100,000 in ash or pavement, find
I
it.
might be, 2042, I might be around, you'll be around.
I think it was 50 years. I think they put it in 92. Is that right? They put it in with the celebration of the Alaska Highway in 92.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
They're gonna open it 50 years later.
And I think, was it after 25 years, they gave us the concrete, the asphalt?
Oh.